nothing in this whole world that can ever break our love.
You're all that I need to get through.
Together in love, together in life, never alone. I got you by my side, walking by faith, never by sight. We're the Purefoys, and we'll be alright. Together in love, together in life, never alone. I got you by my side, walking by faith, never by sight. We're the Purefoys, and we'll be alright.
What's up, everybody? It's Shaun, the leader and general of the illest team known to man, the Purefoys, aka Team P, aka my babies. Today's episode is a real treat for y'all. It's going to give you some insight on how things are going in our homeschool. We get a lot of texts and emails and messages on Instagram and Facebook about how do we grade, how are the kids progressing in the homeschool, what does that look like, how do we get feedback, and today's episode is going to shed some light on that.
I started homeschooling because it's something that God had put on my heart. When Ariana was little, I started homeschooling preschool with her, and at the time that was going really great. And Jaden started having tons of issues in school, and God was telling me, you need to do something with him. You need to homeschool him. He could, you could do it. And I'm like, no, I can't. And I didn't do it. I wasn't obedient. I didn't do it because it was something that honestly, that's kind of my quiet time during the day. The kids are out at school, and just dealing with Ariana at the time was enough for me. And I didn't do it. And because I didn't do it, we had so many issues in school that year. Like, we were literally in his school every week, contacting teachers and doctors and all this stuff. Your child has ADHD, whatever. But honestly, not every kid can learn in a box. Every kid learns differently. There's so many different types of learning styles. And, God put it on my heart, and that's why we decided to homeschool. So Jay ended up staying home with us, and then Xavier was like, well, if everyone's going to be homeschooled, I'm not going to school. So that's what happened. Xavier stayed home, and then everyone got homeschooled. So that's why.
Purefoy Institute of Learning report card, Xavier Nasir Hall. So he's taken Algebra 1, Biology, English, Music/Piano, Basketball, kind of, sort of, I guess, Spanish, Theater, Arts, World Geography. Let's see what we got here. All right. In Algebra 1, C-. Okay. And Biology, you got a B. English, a B. Is this piano? Do you have an A? Spanish, a B-. Okay. Theater Arts, A+. How is that a class?
How is that a thing?
Yeah.
What I do is, like I did last year, is, all the auditioning and the studying of the sides and the class that he's taking and he got a scholarship for. I just made it a thing, because in a regular syllabus, like when I look up everything that he's doing, they do.
So how are you assessing that, though?
Getting jobs. He's going to class every week.
But how are you assessing it? Like, is he taking, in school he would be taking a test,
In school, he might be taking a test. But I wasn't really going off it based on the test. but instead of based off of what he puts forth, the effort that he puts forth, what he does with the class.
Okay. And then world geography, you got an A-. So, what's up with algebra?
Are there crickets in there? I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
They have a sad face.
Ma'am, no one's talking to you. What do you mean you don't know?
Daddy want to eat? Just
Huh?
math is just, I'm not strong in it.
I don't want to hear that. What do you mean you're not strong in math? You're home all day long. Your school is at home. So what do you mean you're not strong in math? What is there? What are you getting assessed on that you haven't learned?
I'll learn it.
I can't hear you.
I'll learn it, but on the test, it's like I just like, well, if it's like a different way it's set up, I only studied like the way that I've been taught it in my book.
But numbers don't change. What do you mean the way? How could it possibly be different?
Like it would make me do the problems, and I'll just ask. Then it just like, then it won't ask. Then it won't make me do the problems. It'll make me do like in word form. And sometimes I don't.
And you,
And sometimes I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like
You don't know how to write words?
I do.
So what are you talking about? You don't know what?
I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, I need you to explain it. C-, that means like you almost got a D. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse for these. There's no excuse for that grade. I don't know why aren't all of these things A's? You're that busy that you can't put a little more effort into your work?
No.
I mean, I know it's not that easy. I mean, it's not that cut and dry. You put a little more effort and then all of a sudden that happens. But at the same time, I see you playing video games. I see you on YouTube all day long. I see you, going outside and, things of that nature. You fall asleep with your iPad. Math is something that you do need. You need to be able to calculate variables. How else are you going to pay your bills?
I can't.
What do you mean you can't?
If I don't learn math, I can't pay my bills.
What's this attitude? What are you talking about? What is this attitude?
Nothing.
Xavier's grades, I don't hate them, but at the same time, I know what Xavier is capable of. I know that he can also be lazy. So my push to him was more so, you're awesome in these areas. You can also be awesome in these areas as well. And I really just wanted to highlight his negatives because those are the things that he needs to grow on. I'm a person who loves to receive feedback, but I don't need to know what I did well. I'm content in the job that I did, but I'm someone who always wants to grow and get better. So just tell me what I did wrong, and that's just the way I like to receive feedback, and that's how I give feedback to my kids. They get a whole bunch of praise for all the awesome things that they do, but when it comes down to these grades, we need to know what we need to work on. And I just want him to push himself to be better, not to be complacent and just barely making it.
The worst part about homeschooling. The whining, really. That mommy, I don't want to do this today, or do we have to do work today? Yes, you have to do work today. What do you mean, do I have to do work? You know, it's because you're also the mom and the teacher, or the parent and the teacher. You know, you really have to juggle those two things. And sometimes your kids don't need a teacher. Sometimes they just need you to be mom that day, you know, and sometimes they need you to be the teacher. So that's probably always going to be a struggle. I've heard a lot of homeschool stories, so that's probably always going to be a struggle for every homeschool parent. But, yep, just embracing the journey. But that's the worst part.
Jaden. American history, biology, language arts, middle school math, piano, PE. A C- in language arts. What kind of stuff are you doing in language arts, Jaden? You don't know anything that you did in language arts. You forgot everything that you did, obviously, right? Because again, a C- is almost a D. Biology, you got an A. How did you get an A in biology? What did you do to get an A in biology? Because that's a strong suit of yours. Obviously, right? Because you got an A in it. A means excellence. So that's what's up. But I would like to know, what did you do to get an A in biology?
You did it right.
Obviously, right? But what did you do to get it right? Because the same stuff that you're doing in biology to get you an A, you should be able to replicate that same type of work ethic and whatever else you're doing that's going to boost the rest of these grades up. A C+, a C, and a C-. Like, those are all, like, important classes, because music and piano, like, I mean, I don't know what exactly you are doing in music and piano. But at the same time, those are kind of like elective courses. There are no piano questions on an SAT or the NJ Ask or the PARC exam. So
The projects?
okay. What is going on with language arts? Why do you have a C-?
studied my language arts.
So you're able to vocalize that and say that. Why aren't you studying? Are you studying?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How? With what?
I look over my notes and I do the problem over again. And then I ask mommy if she can go over the problems that I did wrong.
And
she checks them.
And?
That's basically it.
I want to see some of these assessments that you're taking. Again, this is not a terrible report card. But at the same time, you guys are homeschooled. You can easily get these same kind of grades in a regular school. What's the point of being homeschooled? It's supposed to be specialized instruction for you. You're supposed to have extra time so you can grasp the concepts. I want to know why you guys aren't doing that. So why aren't you studying your language arts? You don't feel like you need to study?
No.
You don't feel like it. You just said no. I asked you if do you feel like you don't need to study? You said no. So that means no, I don't need to study. You don't need to study?
I do.
So why aren't you?
I feel I'll get most of them right. I feel like I'll get most of them right because I'm not that far, and I thought it'll be easy.
You're not that far? What do you mean?
Not that far into the book.
What book? The curriculum book?
Yes.
Do they get assessments in language arts? What kind of grades have you been getting on your assessments? Or what kind of grades has he been getting on his assessments?
I don't know. Echo thing between all of their grades. They're all numbers jumbled in my head.
But are you giving him? Does he get feedback?
He does, and I mean, they both get feedback. And on one occasion, I even allowed Xavier to answer the questions because the grade he got was just horrible. And I let them, kind of do an open book.
But are they grasping this stuff? Like, cause, I mean, you're there with them all day. So, what are you doing to help him to lock this stuff in? Because obviously what he's doing is not working, and to just let him just continue going on is like what his regular teachers did.
Yeah.
Jaden's grades are pretty much, indicative of the type of person he is. Jaden, he doesn't really push himself. He doesn't really have self-motivation. And I know that's kind of like a big thing for a 10-year-old to have. But he's capable of it. In things that he's interested in, he pushes himself to be better. So if it's video games or playing basketball or dancing, he practices those things. He pushes himself to get better. But when it comes to school, he kind of takes a back seat and just, it is what it is. He doesn't study like he should. He doesn't double check his work. And those are, transferable skills, life skills that he needs to learn. No one's going to be over his back telling him to do this, telling him to do that. He's got to kind of have his own motivation to be better.
The best part about homeschooling Our kids are learning things educationally, Bible-based things, so they're doing chores and learning cooking things and all types of things. And I absolutely love that. And I'm the one that gets to teach them that. One of the things that I love about homeschooling is that I get to really spend time with my kids. Yeah, I never thought I'd say that because, the quiet is great when they go off to school, but them being home is it's really awesome. I really love it. Another thing I love about homeschooling is the flexibility. Because we have child actors, we can just pick up and go to New York or wherever we have to go and we need to. Sometimes Shaun has the kid, 3 of the kids, and I have 2 of the kids, so they can just take their schoolwork to school with him and do their schooling there. So the flexibility is really a plus in our family too.
Ariana Renee. So she's got general art, general history, general science, math, elementary PE, phonics, reading, spelling. Let's see. Should have did this one first. All right, you. Why you get an A- in spelling? Huh? You slacking off? So you just gonna get A+ and everything else, and then you get an A-? Huh?
Because I do.
What?
I do phonics and reading.
Yeah, I know what you do, but why'd you get an A-? Why you get an A+?
I don't know what A+ means.
It means the best, 100%. Don't you know you can't make it into heaven? 99.5 won't do? Don't you know that?
Yes.
So you think an A- in spelling is going to make you... Are we getting to Harvard with an A-? Huh?
No.
No, we're not. First and foremost, Ariana, she's a brilliant student. She's really a go-getter. She loves to learn. She has a thirst for knowledge, and she's her own worst critic. I think she gets that from me. She's always down on herself whenever she gets anything wrong. She always wants to be right, and she strives to be right and to know what she needs to know. I did give her a little nudge on the A- that she got, but that's only to just let her know that no one's perfect. We all have room to grow. We're not a finished product. The person who's always trying to grow and evolve and become a better person, those are the people who make it in life, and those are the people who become tremendously successful. So I'm just trying to instill that in her at a young age. My vision for their education is I just want them to be knowledgeable about the world. I want them to be able to function as adults. I want them to be able to go to college if that's their choice and be successful and be competitive and be able to get the good grades and land a decent job. Yeah, they're actors and models and things like that right now, but who's to say that that's going to be where they end up when they're adults? So I want them to have a world-class education. And I do believe that they're getting that. Even though it doesn't translate numbers-wise, as far as the grades are concerned, but they are learning about their history. They do know about the world. We travel, we take them and give them real world experiences so they're educated on the whole front. It's not a perfect system, but it's something that we're definitely working towards, and I do believe that they are going to be successful in whatever they do in life.
Together in love.